Welcome to issue number 2 of Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, which is part 7 of the Sins of Sinister event. Now up to this point of the story, Storm is in charge of an underground freedom fighter team by the name of the Brotherhood. After a massive betrayal from Destiny, in the previous issue, the surviving members of Storm forces are left in disarray, as the Precog joins Orbis Stellaris with Sinister prized lab. So after some time, we fast forward to the present day, during the era of the Galactic War, which is a struggle between the Sinister Council and the Interstellar Compact, which is led by Orbis Stellaris. So while the powerhouses of the universe battle it out, Storm and her Brotherhood are trapped in the middle fighting for the freedom of all men while seeking vengeance for Ororo, the first casualty of the Sinister Wars. So during the doomed mission to the ice planet Varon, the rival insurgent cell known as Freedom Force was able to transmit the location and schematics of the Compact's latest, most terrifying weapon. A mobile command posts the size of the solar system to Ororo base. So with that said, this issue opens on a space station somewhere out in deep space. And when we get there, we see a ship coming in for a landing. Now, the commander of this station is none other than Novar, or better known as Marvel Boy. And personally, by the look on his face, he was not happy with who was showing up. For the person who was boarding their ship was the enemy of Ororo, Destiny. Now the purpose of her trip was to have a meeting with Storm, but when she exits the vessel, she is met by Cable, now known as X-Man, Ironfire, and Cora, all of which wasn't happy to see her at all, based on her previous track record. But see, Destiny couldn't care less about any of their feelings towards her. Because some time ago the love of her life Mystique turned her back on her and joined the Resistance. Now as you may have guessed, Destiny was completely against this move. But with Mystique forever being a warrior, she couldn't live her life on the sidelines forever as people were being killed in the billions. So as she exited the room for the last time, Mystique told Destiny the truth, which was that she didn't want to spend the rest of forever as a trophy in Destiny's vault. For if you love someone you set them free. And with those words, they parted ways. But much like many of the heroes over the past 100 years, Mystique was ultimately killed in battle. So with nothing left to live for, Destiny decided to betray her once ally, Orbis Stellaris, and reset the timeline in order to get Mystique back. So getting back to current day, we see Destiny with tears in her eyes as she explains her loss to the Brotherhood. Because Destiny truly wanted to live forever with Mystique. Because when they were together, decades flew by like summer days. It was truly enough for her, but sadly not for Mystique. So as Destiny is bleeding her heart out, Storm arrives on the scene. And regardless of all the time that has passed, the feelings between the two women have not changed at all, as the two begin to dig into each other. But see, Destiny came for a reason, for she had an offer. Because she explains to Storm that the last time she was before her she offered a chance to end all of this cleanly. Which was obviously a lie, because she had too much to lose. But with Raven dead, the galaxy feels like it is on fire. And because she has lost everything, in her eyes it is time to finally kill Moria. So with the information in hand, once again the Brotherhood forms a strike team to assault Orbis Stellaris' base of operations. And on a side note, let me just say this issue gives me heavy Star Wars vibes. I know everyone is going to compare it to Star Wars, and for the most part, it's true. But anyway, getting back to the story, we see the Resistance drop out of warp space, and before them, we see Orbis Stellaris' new base. The Death Star, or the Death Sphere, whichever you prefer to call it. For with this massive ship, Orbis Stellaris is one step closer to reaching Dominion. For in this shell, the progenitors are hard at work using all their power processing data. So with the alert going out, Orbis team goes on the attack. And at first, they were under the assumption that the Red Diamond forces were the ones attacking them. But after receiving additional data, they were shocked to see the invaders were actually the Brotherhood. So completely confused by the turn of events, Orbis Stellaris orders his men to only deploy the standard fighters to intercept the Brotherhood X-Fighters in space. For he believed the progenitors was best served to process his data. So with every standard fighter deployed, the odds were completely one-sided, with 100 to 1. But little did Orbis know, the rebels had an ace up their sleeves. Because Destiny was being supercharged by Cora's gift. Now with Destiny's abilities working at 1000%, X-Man is able to read her mind and relay the information in real time to his squad. So with everything a go, Storm asks Destiny what she sees, which she responds by saying she sees a pitched battle. For herself, Korra, and Nathan's strategic sense create an unbeatable combination. A self-fulfilling prophecy. The most potent of possible futures. She could even hear the moment Storm gives the order to destroy the artificial sun at the heart of the sphere. And even the lab at the heart of that. And finally, once the battle is over, Destiny speaks of a moment of euphoria and victory and then darkness, which she say is the end of the universe. So with the map laid before the team, we skip over to John Ironfire as he navigates through the enemy lasers. But to his surprise, he is visited by Mother Righteousness. And of course Mother Righteousness is doing what she does best, trying to get into people's heads, trying to place doubts while recruiting new followers. For who is the best follower than a person who has already proven to follow others? But see, little did she know Ironfire was fiercely loyal to a goddess already, because he would do anything for Storm. So as the Brotherhood rips through the standard fighters, Orbis Stellaris realizes that Destiny is on their side, which was a little too late, because through an open hold in their defenses, Storm's full team was able to enter the giant orb as all of Orbis Stellaris forces exited, which was a huge miscalculation on his part. So with the hole sealed behind them, Novor immediately locked his crosshairs on the center sun, ready to fire a black hole torpedo at the structure as soon as Storm issues the command. Which she did. But oddly enough, the command was not what I expected. For the command she issued was to eliminate Destiny. So with the precog dead and gone, Storm orders Novor to stand down, which confused everyone. But Storm explains to them that this hell they live in still supports life. And because if there is still life, then that means there is still hope. And then she goes on to say, 90 years ago she was angry, and even to this day she still is. But how many have lived and died since then? One dead planet does not justify a murdered universe. The lab is an abomination, one we must defuse, not simply destroy. And if we cannot, then we must guard it with our lives. So with that speech, Storm called Korra to her side to pull off one of the strongest feats I have ever seen a mutant do in all of Marvel Comics. For Storm showed what an Omega-level mutant can really do. For she states, an Omega-level mutant is to be without limit. But there are limits beyond limits. Power beyond powers that I am also heir to, for they do not call me the old witch without cause. Because for those who don't know, Storm's ancestors were the second Sorcerer Supreme. Which means magic is within Storm's blood alongside her mutant abilities. So with that knowledge, Storm began to speak in incantation, saying, her mother was a sorceress from a sorceress line. Her blood is in me, and in her name and those before, I call. In Ashek's name, in Aisha's name, I call you, Amam of the Invisible. I call you, Hahe who rules space. I offer you fire, and a life incarnate, that through magic and mutation I might command the weather of the cosmos itself, and summon a storm to shake realities. So with those words spoken, Storm was able to create a rip in space, summoning a cosmic storm, creating a massive wormhole sucking in the entry lab as well as storm forces along with it, which was a massive win for the forces of Ororo, because they were able to save the universe without getting a single scratch. For in one move, she was able to deprive Orbis Stellaris of his ability to achieve dominion, because he lost his progenitors, which was the key behind his ability to compute data, which took millennia to recalculate and recompile. And to add insult to injury, his life's work was destroyed by a magic blast. So with no options to move forward, he decided to do one final move, which was to turn off the life support system for his entire ship, taking out millions in the process. And with that said, the Spade Sinister was no more. So with the lab in Ororo's ownership, everything was turning out well for Storm's people, because the progenitors is no longer a threat to anyone without Orbis Stellaris control. And as for the infrastructure alone, it can be reused as a new home for the Iraqi people. But unfortunately, the Queen herself wouldn't live long enough to see the fruits of her labor, because due to the large amount of energy used, Storm's old body couldn't take the brunt of the stress. For the goddess, Storm has fallen in battle so others can live. So with that said, this issue comes to an end.